Everyone keeps talking about institutions adopting the XRP Ledger. Ripple announces new partnerships. Banks experiment with blockchain. Financial firms continue building on XRPL. Yet one question keeps appearing in the comments over and over again. If institutions are really using the XRP Ledger, why do they still need XRP? Or maybe they don't. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings in the entire XRP community. Some people believe every transaction on the XRP Ledger automatically increases XRP demand. Others argue that institutions can use the ledger without touching XRP at all. Then there are those who claim XRP has become irrelevant because of stablecoins, tokenized assets, or private ledgers. So who's actually right? The answer is far more interesting than most headlines make it sound. And once you understand how the XRP Ledger was designed, you'll realize why so many investors continue arguing past each other. Most people aren't debating facts. They're talking about completely different use cases. Let's start with the biggest misconception. Many people assume Ripple, XRP, and the XRP Ledger are exactly the same thing. They're not. Think of it this way. Imagine a modern highway system. The highway is the infrastructure that allows vehicles to move quickly and efficiently. The vehicles are the assets traveling across that infrastructure, and the company maintaining or building parts of that highway isn't the same thing as the cars driving on it. That's very similar to how this ecosystem works. The XRP Ledger is the blockchain infrastructure. It's the network that records transactions, settles payments, and supports features like tokenization, decentralized exchange functionality, escrow, and asset transfers. Ripple is a company. It builds financial products and payment solutions, contributes to the ecosystem, and works with banks, payment providers, and financial institutions. XRP is the native digital asset of the XRP Ledger. 3 different pieces, 1 ecosystem. This distinction matters because institutions aren't all trying to solve the same problem. Some banks may simply want a faster blockchain to tokenize real-world assets. Others may want to issue stablecoins. Some might only use the ledger to settle internal transactions. And others could eventually use XRP as a bridge asset for moving value between different currencies. Those are completely different scenarios. That's why headlines saying institution adopts XRPL don't automatically mean that institution is buying millions of dollars worth of XRP the next day. But it also doesn't mean XRP has no role. The real question isn't whether institutions are using the XRP Ledger. Many already are experimenting with blockchain technology in different ways. The real question is much more specific. In which situations does XRP actually become useful? That's where the conversation becomes interesting. Because the XRP Ledger was designed to support many different types of assets, not just XRP itself. Today, the network can process stablecoins, tokenized assets, and other digital representations of value. That flexibility is one reason developers and financial institutions pay attention to it. So naturally, people ask, if all these other assets can move across the network, why would anyone choose XRP? It's a fair question, and the answer isn't based on hype. It's based on economics. Every financial institution ultimately cares about 3 things: cost, speed, liquidity. Those 3 factors influence almost every payment decision they make. So where does XRP actually fit into all of this? The answer starts with a problem that has existed in global finance for decades. Imagine a company in the United States needs to send millions of dollars to a supplier in Japan. It sounds simple, but behind the scenes it's surprisingly complicated. Banks often rely on correspondent banking networks, where multiple financial institutions work together to move money across borders. To make those payments possible, banks have traditionally needed to keep funds parked in different countries and different currencies. Those pre-funded accounts tie up capital that can be used elsewhere. Now imagine replacing several intermediaries with a digital asset that can be transferred and settled in just a few seconds before being exchanged into the destination currency. That's the idea behind using a bridge asset. Instead of holding dozens of currencies around the world, a payment could move from currency A into XRP, travel across the network, and then convert into currency B. Whether a specific institution chooses that model depends on its own business needs, regulations, liquidity, costs, and available infrastructure. It's not something that happens automatically every time the XRP Ledger is used. And that's the part many discussions leave out. People often assume every institution using XRPL must also be using XRP. Not necessarily. Others assume the opposite, that because some institutions don't use XRP, XRP has no purpose. That's also an oversimplification. The reality sits somewhere in the middle. Think of the XRP Ledger like a large airport. Thousands of travelers pass through every day. Some arrive on international flights. Some fly domestic. Some connect through the airport. Others never leave the terminal. The airport supports many different journeys. XRP works in a similar way. The network can support many different assets and payment models, while XRP remains available whenever using it provides an advantage. This becomes especially important when liquidity enters the conversation. Liquidity simply means how easily an asset can be bought or sold without causing large price swings. For global payments, deep liquidity matters because institutions may need to move significant amounts of value quickly and efficiently. If moving value through XRP is cheaper, faster, or more capital efficient than existing alternatives, it becomes an attractive option for certain use cases. If another method works better for a different situation, an institution may choose that instead. Large financial organizations don't usually make technology decisions based on loyalty to a particular asset. They compare costs, they compare risks, they compare efficiency, then they choose whichever solution best fits the transaction. This is why it's misleading to think institutional adoption is an all-or-nothing event. One bank could use the XRP ledger to tokenize assets without using XRP. Another payment provider could use XRP as a bridge asset for specific cross-border transfers. A fintech company might combine stablecoins with XRPL features. Each organization has different goals. That's exactly why headlines can confuse investors. When you read that a company is building on XRPL, it's worth asking one more question. How are they using it? Because the answer determines whether XRP is central to that particular workflow or simply part of the broader ecosystem. Understanding that distinction helps explain why the same news can produce completely different reactions inside the XRP community. Some investors immediately expect a price rally. Others dismiss the announcement entirely. But the reality is more nuanced. Not every partnership has the same impact. Not every product creates the same demand. And not every institution is solving the same problem. So, do institutions still need XRP? The honest answer is it depends on the use case. If an institution is simply issuing a stablecoin or tokenizing assets on the XRP ledger, it may not need XRP for every transaction, but when the goal is to move value between different currencies quickly and efficiently, XRP can serve as a bridge asset because of its speed, low transaction costs, and global liquidity. That's the key point many discussions miss. Using the XRP ledger doesn't automatically mean using XRP, but it also doesn't mean XRP has no role. The real question isn't whether institutions are building on XRP. The question is which applications actually benefit from using XRP. As more real-world payment and liquidity use cases develop, that's where investors should pay close attention. So the next time you hear someone say, institutions don't need XRP, or every XRPL partnership guarantees XRP will moon, remember this. The truth is more nuanced than either extreme. If you found this explanation helpful and want more videos that separate facts from hype, subscribe to the channel. Here, we focus on understanding how XRP actually works, not just what the latest headlines claim.